What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers. There will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, Child's Playback.
Welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, video games, board games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geeky case for a future episode, you can email us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. You can also support our show over at patreon.com/geeksontrial for just a few bucks a month, and you'll gain early access to both our audio and our video episodes before they are released to the general public. Now it's time for the main part of the episode. The main part of the episode. I don't need your pity laughs.
I want to let that sink in for a minute because the listeners and viewers, they don't understand the joke yet.
They don't get it, but
they don't know.
Have you ever been to the great state of Maine?
Oh, that Maine.
Maine.
I have.
State.
I have, in fact, been to Maine.
To Maine before. So have I. I actually just went with my fiance on our yearly little road trip. We went, what was that, about 3 weeks ago at this point. And it was an interesting 6-hour drive from where we live, which is New Jersey.
Talk to us. Regale me with tales of Maine.
The Maine tale? You want the Maine tale?
I'd like to hear the Maine tale.
So we really we just went to Portland, Maine, which is funny that there's two. I didn't realize there were two Portlands, and there's also an Oregon in Maine as well.
It makes sense when I didn't know there was an Oregon in Maine. But if you think, Americans traditionally have not been known for their creativity when it comes to naming towns.
Well, here in New Jersey, we have 4 Washington townships.
Yeah. My favorite is the town in New Jersey that's called Plainfield.
Yep.
They're like, what do you got here? I don't know, a field. Is it interesting? It's sort of plain.
Well, I thought
Write that down.
I thought you were going to talk about Naturar, which is Raritan backwards.
Isn't that like the name of the region where Raritan is?
Kind
of.
Because Raritan's at the start of the train line, Natarar's the end of the train line.
We're getting deep into the New Jersey lore now. We're losing people.
Let's get back to the main segment.
So
my fiance and I drove to Maine. Like I said, 6-hour drive, kind of fun. It was a state that we haven't been to yet, and it was within driving distance because I'm not a fan of planes since post-COVID. Because every time people tell me, they're like, "Oh, I was on a plane. I'm sick now."
That happened to me last year.
Yeah.
So, actually, it was the plane probably that did me in, yeah.
Makes sense. So first thing we did, we get to Maine, we check into our hotel, and we went to the Portland, Maine Museum of Art. It rolls off the tongue. And it's just a regular museum. They have paintings, they have sculptures. They have a bunch of who was it? Renoir paintings, which is kind of like,
love that guy.
Kind of weird. That was their. I don't know if he's clearly not from there.
Oh no, he spent a lot of time in Portland.
He had a big Boston style accent, the New England accent.
I love to paint paintings. I think that's how he.
Keep going. I'm not done. Go ahead.
I don't remember which ones. What Renoir did, because I wasn't a good student.
Neither was I. Even after looking at him, I can't say, because paintings from back then all.
I want to say women. Did he draw women?
Though the main one that we saw was like the nude women sitting in a park eating a picnic. Like that was the thing.
Ooh, that's my dream.
Is it?
That's all I want there.
Nude picnic.
Nude picnic.
And then, we also wanted to go to the big state park in Maine, which is Acadia National Park, and they were closed for the season.
That is disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, there were it was 3 hours away from our hotel, but like you go there for like that's Maine isn't for nature. Maine is like you go to see a moose, you go to see bear, you go to get maple syrup and a lobster roll. But we looked online and we're like, oh, they're open. We asked the guy at the front desk. He goes, yeah, they're closed for the season because the bears and moose are still hibernating.
Isn't that the perfect time to go?
I'm like, I want to go. I don't want to get attacked by a moose.
Moose hibernate? I didn't know that.
He could have just been telling us some crap, but then we called and we're like, oh yeah, they're closed for the season, which is kind of disappointing.
I mean, you don't want to run into a cocaine bear while you're up there,
right? But how about a cocaine
That would be
moose?
bad. That's good.
Now,
That's a good sequel.
We didn't see any actual moose, but we went to there's an LL Bean store. They have where they first
Just as good.
well,
the next best thing.
It's where LL Bean like started, and if you don't know what LL Bean is, they're like a camping and outdoors store, kind of like an Eddie Bauer or a Cabela's. And you walk in there, and they have two giant stuffed taxidermied moose right when you first walk in the door. And moose they're the large animals.
They're big fellas.
Yeah, and they said like if you hit one with your car, call the cops. If I hit a moose with my car, I'm dead.
Its antlers gored you through the windshield, probably.
These things are like the size of our minivan. Like, it's ridiculously huge.
Yeah.
But everything is, I'm sure you know, everything is moose themed up there. They have, when you first walk into like the welcome center, there's a giant plastic moose at the front door. There's the big record store that we went to. It's like a Barnes and Nobles, but they have like records, DVDs, CDs, cassette tapes, books. It's called Bull Moose. I don't know if that rings a bell for you.
No, I didn't see a bull moose.
But they they have multiple locations up there, and it's really cool because they have like used records, cassette tapes, videotapes. They had a whole back wall that was full of the old white Disney tapes.
They were white?
The white.
Oh,
case.
the cassette tapes.
Yeah. The
Sure.
videotapes or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
The video, no.
The
VHS tapes?
Yeah, the VHS.
Oh, like the inside was white, like the plastic clamshells.
Yeah, I guess that's what you call them.
Yeah. But the tapes were black themselves.
Yeah, unless they were Nickelodeon, but that wouldn't be a.
Yeah, no, that was a different thing. Did you buy anything?
We bought. They had a pack of Blu-rays. You can get 5 Blu-rays for $5, but it was a mystery pack.
Oh wow, what'd you get? What was in the mystery pack?
3 of which were Japanese movies, which I don't know off the top
Anime
of my head.
or
Nope, just live action. One was a horror film.
Recent movies though? Not.
No.
Oh, like well, like recent. I mean, like within the last 20 years, or like old movies.
One was like an old, like black and white Japanese movie. 2 were like newer, like clearly like crappy films. One of the
surprise.
The non-Japanese ones was the second Independence Day.
Have you ever watched that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that in theaters.
Yeah.
Oh, it's bad. It's so bad.
It's worth $1.
Maybe. I don't know. That was a really bad movie.
It was the risk of the draw. You know, you pay $5.
I will say about Independence Day 2, it is a Star Trek movie, technically.
Technically, because Brent
Spiner's in it, yeah. So
no spoilers, folks. You know.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah. And we tried to find. I wanted to get a lobster roll because I'm like, oh, we're going to Maine.
Oh yeah.
Home of $40.
Yeah. That's how you know it's good.
We didn't get it. I'm not paying $40.
You got to go back. Go back
for lobster meat and a hot dog roll. I'm sorry.
Well, you missed out. I had the lobster roll when I was up there.
Were they good?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Do you like lobster? Like I'm not like I'll eat lobster. I'm not like.
Well, the thing about a lobster roll is it's not like eating a lobster.
Yeah.
You know, in front of you. It's there's the sauce and it's cut up, so it's like eating clam chowder or something. Like I don't really like clams, but I love clam chowder because it's just got cream and shit in it.
Well, that's why I couldn't get the lobster roll. Oh, I could, but I didn't want to. I did get a bowl of clam chowder, which was probably the best food I had from Maine.
Yeah, that's where you get the seafood up there.
Because a lot of the restaurants, I don't know if you noticed when you were in that region, it's a lot of Italian restaurants, and I'm not going out of New Jersey to Maine to get Italian food.
No, we got that covered
We
here.
got that. It's
We
like,
don't.
I don't. It's like going to like Japan and being like, let's go to McDonald's.
Well, they might have some pretty cool stuff at the Japan
It's
McDonald's.
true.
I would do that. Now, depends how long you're staying.
Right.
Depends how long you're staying.
Now, what did you guys when you went to Maine? What did you do?
I did the same stuff as you, except Acadia National Park was open.
Right. Because
So that's my. I didn't really, other than we spent like a few hours in Portland. My main experience with Maine was just in the park. We
Right.
just kind of drove around and hiked around and
well,
stuff.
because it's
So that's
supposed to
really
be
what I
a
did.
really cool park.
It's cool. It's big. We took like a tour. There's like an audio tour. We
Yeah.
bought like a CD, and you could drive around.
And apparently, like if you drive more north Maine, you can go to the Stephen King area.
Oh, we did. I think we stopped through there. The problem is, it's really not. You'd think like, oh, it's gonna have some cool stuff for Stephen King fans. It's nothing.
No.
There's nothing there.
There's like what the Stephen
scary.
King house. That's it.
I think there's maybe the Paul Bunyan statue that's in It,
Okay.
featured in It. I think you can go find that there. And yeah, you can like see the outside of his house, which he doesn't. I don't think actually lives at anymore.
No,
or
I'm sure because like
not year round at
why
least.
like if it's a visitor spot, why would he be like, come on and look at my
Yeah.
house? Like
You'd think someone would make that like the next Salem,
right.
and just make that a big spooky spot. But I don't think
Salem,
it's happened.
Salem is fun. That was a good road trip
yeah.
that we did a few years ago. But
Yeah,
yeah, other
yeah.
than that, we saw some lighthouses. Before we left, our car broke down. It was great fun. Great fun.
Great fun.
Great fun.
Great fun. Well, I'm glad that you had a good trip. You'll have to go back next time for the lobster roll in Acadia National Park.
They probably sell them in the park because they were kind of selling lobster rolls.
I think that's
everywhere.
where I ate it. There
Did
was
you
like a
really?
restaurant in the park. I'm pretty sure, or it was like right next to it. And I think that's where I had one.
And apparently, back in the '80s, McDonald's used to sell a lobster roll in that area.
Hey,
I don't know.
God
if I
bless
would.
them. No, it's probably bad. It's just a McRib, but they just
Well, they
they just
chop
call
up
it-
the what does he call it? The fish delight. They chop that up and they make it into a lobster roll.
Now that's a delight.
That's a delight.
That's a delight. You know what? We mentioned Independence Day 2, which is a great movie, and I bring that up because we should get to today's case, which does involve a movie almost as good as Independence Day 2.
Which movie?
I'll let you know once we get to
Okay.
it. So, for all the listeners, it's time now for us to dig into the main segment of today's show. Now that we finished with the main segment, we can move on to the main segment.
Is that supposed to be a joke?
Today's case comes to us from the internet. You can find a link to it in our description below in the episode description. And this case revolves around a father named, we're going to call him Charlie. He has 3 kids, and his youngest, Hannah, is 9 years old. The other 2 are 12 and 15. Hannah likes to play a little game of monkey see, monkey do with her 2 older siblings.
What happens though?
Well, if she does not get permission to do exactly what the siblings are doing when they're doing it, Hannah gets upset, okay? She throws a bit of a tantrum. We've all had kids before. We know it's a problem when they have a tantrum. Now, this becomes a real problem one day when the 2 older kids are watching the 1988 horror classic Child's Play, starring Chucky, the doll. He stars in it. Well, we'll get into more later. Anyway, Charlie tells Hannah, of course, you're 9 years old. You get scared easily. You're not allowed to watch this movie. But Hannah gets upset, throws a fit. So finally, Charlie gives in and says, okay, if you want to watch it, you can watch it. But you got to sit there and watch the whole damn thing. And Hannah does so, seemingly without incident, although she covers her eyes and ears now and again. She watches the whole movie, doesn't get upset, doesn't scream or cry or anything like that. Until later that night, when she requests that her door be left open with the light on when she goes to sleep. This is when Charlie's wife discovers what he has done, becomes infuriated with him for traumatizing their child, and Hannah now refuses to watch movies with the family, and she's also afraid of her American Girl doll. As dual judges here on Geeks on Trial, it's now our job to determine whether Charlie's committed a terrible crime, or if his child should have been cheerful and cherished Child's Play. I struggled with this, finding the words.
Now,
But we do need to determine his guilt in this matter.
are you afraid of your American Girl doll?
I am utterly terrified of pretty much any and all
Because
dolls.
whenever I come over to your place, I am frightened by the amount of American Girl dolls that you have on display, and it scares me.
Well, you see, you're confused because those aren't actually American Girl dolls. I have a slightly cheaper version.
Okay.
They're the Canadian Girl dolls.
Oh, eh?
Yeah.
They're
They're pretty much the same,
just
but
nicer. They're just
they're a little nicer. They apologize more. They call it craft dinner for some reason.
they love poutine.
Yeah, they really do. But they are scary. I
Right.
do think dolls are very, very scary.
I do. I
And,
find most dolls creepy. To be like, to agree with you.
yeah. Oh, yeah, they're creepy. Of
Yeah.
course, they're very creepy.
Dolls are
And
like my mom when I was growing up had like a porcelain doll that she had from when she was a child. And like I would go into their bedroom and be like, "No, this is not okay." And I'm sure that's why she had it. She put it like right at the front, right at the door. Don't come in my room.
yeah, that's a little warning sign to keep children away. Yeah, even I don't know if we think dolls are creepy because of movies and things,
Oh, I'm
or
sure.
if they are inherently creepy.
Well, it's like people thinking clowns are creepy. Like
Yeah,
movies helped that quite a bit because there are a lot of like It, for example. Pennywise is a creepy clown. We
true.
had what was the creepy doll movie? Annabelle, right? Was that
Sure.
about the doll? Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
Megan
Megan
is that pretty much.
M.
I'm sorry, Mithrigan.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
Child's Play.
Now, it is not fully clear. I don't think it really makes a difference, but I will say in the story, I'm assuming this is the original Child's Play. I think the
Oh,
remake, though, was also just called Child's Play, so it could be that version, but I
was
don't think it
it?
really matters.
For what I thought the new one was just called Chucky.
Oh, was it? Maybe you're right. I thought the Aubrey Plaza one was called Child's Play. Well, there's no way to know. We can't find
Nope.
this information out, so
Because
we're just gonna have to move
when
on.
we film these episodes, we are in a steel bunker with no internet,
Yeah.
and we turn everything off just so we are sequestered.
It's the only way to stay safe so our information doesn't get leaked to the
What
public.
was your first horror movie?
That's a great question. Yeah, because we had an episode early on, we're still pretty early on, where we talked about our first R-rated movies and
Right.
things like that. But horror movies is a little different. And I was, as I think I said then, a pretty sheltered child.
Right. You still are.
I did not. Now I love horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, I didn't really want much to do with them. I suppose, depending on your definition of horror movie, the first thing that comes to my mind is maybe Gremlins. I do think that's
Oh,
in the genre.
okay.
I think it counts. Now, it's not maybe not quite what you're getting
Right.
at. Like a real like adults only horror movie. I honestly can't. I don't know because I probably didn't watch it until high school.
Right.
was my. Uh, I mean, there's certain things that are adjacent that I could think of, like
But were
you
your
know.
parents into like horror movies and those kind of movies? They
Oh,
don't
not at
like
all.
they don't seem
No,
to me like they would like sit down and be like, "Let's watch Friday the 13th." Like,
no, never in a million years. Oh, actually, you know what? I do remember. I don't. I apologize if I'm repeating myself. For whatever reason, I don't know. As a younger kid, we would rent I Know What You Did Last Summer. I think that was probably my first horror movie. Besides Gremlins.
now,
For some reason I loved that movie and its sequel.
did you guys? You said we would. Did you rent it
Me
multiple
and my
times?
sister. I think we probably did. Or I'm just remembering renting the sequel too. But
Okay.
I remember I don't know if it was just because my sister rented it, so like I snuck and watched it with her. My parents were paying attention.
Because your sister is older than you are.
We normally weren't allowed to watch stuff like that, and I normally wouldn't have been into it. I don't think, but maybe because it felt like kind of thrilling, because it was kind of my first
Right.
window into it. I never know what a slasher film was. That was my
Because that
first
doesn't
slasher
seem
film.
like a movie that your parents, your mom, would like allow you to watch,
No, no, it doesn't at all.
unless she's like,
Yeah,
fine, whatever.
that's
like,
awakened a core memory for me.
Because a lot of those like slasher films, they're gory, but there's also like a sexual element that they always put in every one of those.
Oh yeah, definitely in those.
Right. Because like that's like all the Friday the 13th, all the slasher movies. That's what it is. It's a TNA with blood.
And then in the second one, Jack Black is a stoner and he gets killed while he's smoking weed.
I gotta watch those again. I feel like they were
I
bad.
The first one might be fun. Yeah, I don't know. I think they maybe are fun. What about you? What was?
Well, I mean, technically, my first movie in theaters was like, it's not a horror movie. It was like Chris. Oh my God, Nightmare Before Christmas, which is a Halloween movie.
Sure, sure. Yeah, no, I think that's more of a stretch than Gremlins even.
No, there's a fun family story that I think traumatized me quite a bit. My first horror movie was the movie Carrie. I was 9 years old. And for about a year and a half after that movie, I slept with my lights on. Because so spoiler alert for this very old Stephen King movie. At the end of the movie, there's like a lot of these movies typically do. They have the peaceful music and the she's looking over everything's done, the house burnt down or something. Well, the scene at the end, there's a hand that pops out of the ground.
Classic.
So my mom, as we're watching it, she's remembers this movie when it came out in theaters. She's watched it a few times. I'm watching the TV. She's sitting on the couch behind me. And as that happens, she screams. Not thinking anything of it. I'm pretty sure as she tells the story, I start crying like a baby.
She screams like out of a reaction or to scare you?
To scare me, but not like a shrieking scream, but like like something like that. Not thinking I would react to it because I didn't really react to stuff at like that age. Like my parents were a little bit more lenient than yours were, because I was the baby of the family. Like they just gave up on me, I think. But yeah, that's one of the movies that I think I was like 9 years old, and like for years I slept with my light on, and it's probably why I need to sleep with the TV on now. But yeah, Carrie.
So you did get traumatized.
Yeah, but like also now it's like it's not something like I would bring up with my therapist or like
Maybe
you
should. Maybe now you will.
It's going to unlock some stuff. But like I kind of went the opposite route. I went into the film industry. Like it didn't scare me away from movies or anything. Like I love Halloween, I love horror, I love stuff like that. But Chucky, those movies, are they PG-13? Like, what's the rating?
I think there are. I definitely think there are. Now, here's the thing, though. I will admit,
they are, or you think they're rated R?
I think they are rated R.
Okay, because you can.
Here's the truth about me: I've never seen a single Child's Play movie.
Really?
Yeah, never.
I honestly
watched
like them.
any of them.
I
sort of want to watch them all, but I never have.
Don't watch. So once they stop calling them Child's Play.
But I hear people say those are fun. I've heard people that like those ones
too. The Jennifer
too.
Tilly ones.
Yeah. Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, whatever it's called.
Because I think they're like it's mocking those movies.
They get campier. They get more funny.
Right.
Which maybe I don't know. I feel like I might like that, but I haven't watched any of them. So.
And apparently, as Danny points out, the voice of Chucky in the first two movies was some guy who was also on Star Trek. So they're an approved movie.
That's a Star Trek movie.
Star Trek movie.
That's a Star Trek movie, of course. And isn't it a different? Didn't Mark Hamill do the voice of him in the new one?
The new one. Yeah. And then now there's a TV show that's coming out or is out.
Yeah, or maybe it already happened.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I find it, again, as an outsider who has not experienced these movies, I kind of like that they seem to have an interesting lore that continues across them all, and that Chucky becomes sort of the protagonist of the movies instead of just the Michael Myers. It's like more about him.
Well, and also too, like I feel like Chucky has more of like a background than it's just like this guy who's insane and a slasher. Like, do you know the story of the original?
I know it's a guy, a serial killer who goes into a doll, right?
Yeah, I think he's like the guy got struck by lightning. It was like a Freaky Friday kind of situation.
So is the doll now in his body?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, he's out there like, I want to be your friend.
He's a string on his back that eats the pole. It's great.
But I feel, it's one of those things where I've probably seen enough parodies and references of Child's Play that I feel like I have seen it. Even though it's
also not like not a well-written, in-depth story. Like you get it. It's a child. It's a doll that stabs people. Like
I love like Orphan and Give me little scary kid movies. I'm into that. I can get
Kids are
down with that.
creepy. I forgot. I think it was Diddy Kong Racing. Used to have the. I forgot who made that. Rare, I think, made that
Yeah, yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Their logo used to be the spinning R and then kids laughing in the background. It creeped me out because kids laughing is just creepy.
Well, so here's the question for you, having watched this movie,
Hmm.
both whether it be the original or the remake. You've seen them, I
I've seen
believe.
both. Yes.
Does this fall on the spectrum of like okay for kids to not okay for kids? Is it much gorier than any other slasher movie, or like
I,
compare this to a Friday the 13th or a Halloween or a what's the other, or even a Gremlins or something?
I think because it has to. So the main character, the main human in the movie, is a child, and this is about a child's toy coming to life.
It's about a child's play.
The the I think it's creepier than that because like as a child, it's something that could happen in your life, in your brain. It could happen. Like you have these dolls that are in your closet, in your cabinet, in your toy box, and like it can come to life. Whereas like a Friday the 13th, those like the
I
main
see.
star of those are teenagers at a summer camp. Like it's not in your day to day life. So I think definitely like the Chucky movies are scarier for a child.
So it may not be in terms of its violence or gore much worse, but because it's easier to imagine it happening to you.
Right, which I feel like as a child watching those, that would make more sense. Like you're watching them, you're like, oh shit, I also have a doll with red hair. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like, and you go to sleep at night. It's like the monster under, like if you show your kid was it Babadook, isn't that like monster living in the house kind of thing? Like
Yeah,
it'd be scarier, or like a ghost movie. Yeah, you can live in a haunted house as a child. Like,
right.
and also
That
like
makes sense.
where like Friday the 13th, Halloween, they do have sexual aspects to them. I feel like Chucky is a raunchier character.
That's true. He's kind of a well, I don't know. Maybe I feel like from my understanding, he gets a bit more outlandish as the movies go on.
Yeah, like I think the first two or three, it's not like he doesn't like have sexual quotes all the time, and he's not trying to hook up
Right.
with Jennifer Tilly. Like
But he is a rude, crude dude with a
he's a
dude.
yeah, yeah,
Now, I actually kind of have an equivalent to this from when I was a kid. I didn't watch these movies, obviously, but I read the Goosebumps books. And, there was the Night of the Living Dummy
right.
books. I don't know if you
Yep.
read those. But those, so in these books, for anyone who doesn't know, it was about a living ventriloquist dummy named Slappy, which were basically a total ripoff of Chucky. I don't
Oh yeah.
remember. I don't think it was a serial killer, but it was a scary doll that came to life and tormented the family. And Goosebumps books, if you've read them lately, are very stupid. But as a kid, those are my favorite of the Goosebumps books, and
Right.
they scared the utter shit out of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm now imagining Child's Play would have done the same because there was something about the idea of that doll coming to life,
Right.
and the fact that also in those books he would mess with them so nobody else would believe you that the doll was alive.
Oh yeah. No, it was a real like mind fuck. Like
Yeah, I mean that would really those really scared me.
because like I was saying before, like you have this stuff in this is about your life.
I'm a ventriloquist and I have a talking dummy,
Where I think
and
like so if
sometimes
you
it tells
think
me what to do.
about Nightmare on Elm Street now, yeah, those are the Freddy movies, right? Nightmare on Elm Street. Those creep you out because you go to sleep.
Right?
You have dreams
Yeah,
as a kid. You've had
yeah.
nightmares.
That's how they
Which is
get
actually
you.
kind of funny. Like I wonder if that was the
Jaws.
thinking, right? Because you go to the beach.
You go to the beach. Yeah.
I wonder if that was the thinking behind my parents. Like I wasn't allowed to watch the Chucky movies, but Friday the 13th were okay. Not they're not their choice, but like fine if he's watching that, but would actively turn off the TV for Chucky or for Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Who knows?
Like I
That's
wonder
a
if there was, but we also grew up in
maybe.
a weird time too, where there was like when the V chip was coming into play, and when they had like those websites where you can check like, oh, you shouldn't be watching this, but here you can watch that was a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as we're both parents
Right.
ourselves,
I have at least 35 kids.
Yeah, same. Me, I'm somewhere in the range of 40 or 50.
Right.
And in this scenario, Charlie, the subject of the case is the 9-year-old. That's who we're trying to figure out if it was okay to show it to her. But before that, it was already established the 12 and 15-year-old were watching
Right.
this. 12 years old to me. Now, I mean, he does say that Hannah specifically like tends to get scared easily.
Right.
But 12 isn't that much older than 9.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like the 15-year-old, fine, you're an adult at that point. You're living your life. But 12, like I wouldn't be okay with my 12-year-old watching these movies.
I think I would be okay. I think I probably, again, I haven't watched this movie, but I feel like as a parent, which I am one, I think 12 years old is, if the kid is mature enough, they're probably at a point where you can decide you can watch that. I think maybe it's okay.
Now, do you go ahead?
No, no, I'm done.
Do you go by the ratings like when you like PG
When I'm
13?
parenting,
Like these movies, there's literally an age on it. Like you can't watch these till you're 13, till you're whatever. Do you believe in those? How do you feel about the rating system minus the political?
I don't believe they exist. I mean, they're a nice guideline, I guess. I mean, we don't need to get into. There's a whole documentary about how the MPAA is basically trash.
Oh yeah, that's why like I'm like without like the politics, but like, do you think like okay, so the PG-13 movie? I think it depends on the child. Like if you know your kid is like Hannah and freaks out, fine,
Yeah.
don't. But if your 12-year-old is really like not a 12, like yeah, they're a 12-year-old, but like they don't act like a 12-year-old.
There's this thing called parenting
Go ahead.
that a lot of people should do. A lot of times I feel generally like it's okay to show things to your kids depending on what it is, as
Right.
long as you talk to them about it.
Right.
And the problem is when you just sit them down in front of the TV and go, I don't know, watch whatever you want
Right.
and leave. So yeah, I certainly don't feel like blanket statement ratings means when you turn
Right.
13 you can watch this, otherwise no.
It unlocks a door for you. It's, oh shit.
Yeah, yeah. I don't necessarily feel that way, but it's a new. It depends on the kid. It depends on the kid. Depends on the movie. There's a lot of differences in there. Now it is funny that Charlie does this thing that I feel like I've talked about has been my philosophy for punishments on this show, which is you have to smoke the whole pack. That's literally what he does. Is
Yeah.
you want to watch it?
You
Watch
gotta
the whole
watch the
thing. Then
entire thing.
it's like his punishment. So I guess I do kind of like that. I do. I like the idea behind that. I
Right.
like what he's going for there. I think that's kind of funny. Maybe it's not the correct thing to do, but I kind
Right.
of like it. But that's sort of what we're determining here. I feel like that is the central aspect of this case. That's what we're trying to figure out. Now I feel like we don't necessarily have quite enough info at this stage to determine if Hannah was truly traumatized. What we know
Right.
is she wanted the door open with the light on, and she's kind of scared of her doll. I feel like that's maybe okay. I feel like that's kind of. I almost feel like as a kid, you should have an experience like that.
Right. There should be a core memory that's in you of like, okay, this kind of scares me.
Yeah, like you can, by doing that, you get to learn that what it's like to be scared. But the reason that I feel like we like horror movies is you get to be scared while you're still safe.
Right.
You get to have that thrill, that excitement. Now it's there is a line where it's possible if a kid is really sensitive, it could truly traumatize them.
Or it could do the opposite. And like, okay, she's traumatized of these movies or she's scared of these movies. Maybe it's like an immersive therapy kind of thing that it might like snap her out of it. Like, you watch this movie, realize this can't hurt you. And it might
Yeah.
be like, oh, okay, it's not that bad. Maybe I'll try another movie next week or that kind of situation.
So I don't know if I fully understand what if Charlie's intention with this plan was to punish her and be like, I want you to be scared enough that you won't want to watch this anymore, or was he like hoping she would get over it and enjoy it?
Well, the whole thing, like after reading the case, it seems like he's being a worse parent by saying, okay, your brother and sister or your mom and I are going to sit in the living room and watch TV. You can't leave your room. Because the whole thing with him was like,
yes,
we're going to be using the living room. You have to stay in the confines of your bedroom and not.
They have a whole. Yes, this is the family policy that if there's adult content on the TV, anyone who's too young must vacate the premises.
Which is just. That's just like the biggest douchebag thing to do. Like, oh, you can't use the family living room because mommy and daddy are watching a movie.
Well, I understand that. That makes sense to me if it's, you wait till they go to bed, right?
That, or like, yeah, they're not home, or like, yeah, if they're like, because I'm assuming kids go to bed at like what, 8:00. So like, you're watching a movie that you can't watch in front of your kids. Not meaning like you're watching porn in the living room, but like if you're watching like a PG-13 or a rated R movie, fine, wait till they go to bed. But like if it's like 4:00 when they come home from school, you can't confine your child to like.
Yeah, it is. It didn't really hit me that it was that strange. But now that you're saying it, it is kind of weird to just say, hey, for the next hour and a half, you don't come out here.
Right. Stay in your bedroom. Like, it's kind of like...
It's not like... It feels like you're punishing them for something they had no part in.
You're punishing them for being 9. Like, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And, like, that makes it worse because, like, as a kid, I wasn't allowed to watch, let's say, Beavis and Butthead was the show at the time. So you know what I would do? Sneak down the stairs and watch the show. Right. Like, you're going to get a way around it, and like they're going with internet and stuff, the kid's going to go into their bedroom and watch whatever.
Well, it's very different now because now a kid has an iPad with YouTube on it, or they can watch whatever they want. For us it's like the family TV or something. I mean, I guess maybe we're viewing it through an old-fashioned lens, and maybe now I still think it's a little weird to say you must stay in your room, but maybe we're at a point where it's not that weird. I don't know.
But also, like, in the case, he was saying, like, oh, the child came out to go to the kitchen, so we had to hit pause on the movie. First off, that's just weird because, like, oh, you have to monitor every time the kid comes out. Secondly, and so when the kid comes out, they see you scramble for the remote. They're thinking you're doing something terribly wrong as a parent. It's like, oh, they're watching something all like, and also, like, you're screwing with your viewing of the movie. You have to pause it every time the kid comes in the room.
It is pretty weird, too. It feels like the correct move in this scenario is just not to watch Child's Play.
Right, or like wait until the kids aren't home.
It's also, I mean, I kind of sympathize with poor Hannah when the whole family is like partaking in an activity and you're not allowed. You're being excluded.
That's the thing. Like, oh, okay, all 4 of us are watching this movie. You go be the weird kid and go in the bedroom because you're too young.
Yeah, why can't you, A, find a movie everyone can watch together? Or B, I don't know, maybe this family doesn't have 2 TVs, but it seems I feel like there's a good chance in modern America you have a second TV or at least a computer, and you could be like, well, we'll watch Child's Play and I'll set you up with at least be like, well, what do you want to do? Well, you get to do something and these kids get to do something.
Right.
Like, you get to pick something. You got to give them an activity or something.
Because it comes around to what you're saying before of, like, parenting your children. Because, like, it sounds like the dad is like, okay, we're watching this. It's our time to use the living room. Go do something else. It's like, bro, you have a kid. Like, that kind of comes first. Like...
Yeah, it does feel like a strange... I wouldn't say... It's not, like, so egregious. I don't feel like this is... terrible parenting or anything.
No,
but
it's not like he's like locking them to the bed.
But it is just a little weird. It is like, it feels like there's a better way to figure this out.
And it's also like, it's making it more taboo for the kid to be like, you're like, what are they doing? I want to watch it. Like, making them want to come out.
Or I could understand more if it was like, oh, on Friday night, everybody gets to pick a thing they do every week you get to pick a movie or something, and you go to a different room. I don't know. What's actually the weirdest thing to me about this story, honestly, is that in the modern age, that a 12 and a 15-year-old want to watch a movie from
Together.
the 80s with their dad.
Well,
Yeah.
and that they also want to, because 12, that's quite a age gap, because a 12-year-old is a kid. 15, you're a teen, like you're.
It depends on the kids, I think. And if they're related, yeah, it could go either way. They could be closer or not. Yeah,
Because
know.
I don't like you and your sister are like fairly close in age. Like, would you guys often
Not really.
like?
We're 4 years apart, and I feel like, and the fact that we're a boy and a girl means
True.
we were never in the same school together at the same time, so I felt pretty
It was like
disconnected from her for
Okay.
most of my life growing up, to be honest. Certainly now,
Well, yeah,
I hate her,
right.
but
It's true. You tell her, you send her notes every day, which I think is just a waste of time. You really shouldn't.
I mean, did you like did your family? I'm trying to. Yeah, my family didn't really watch movies together that much.
Well, so back in the 90s, which is when we were both born around the same time, we had one TV in the living room, and then I think when I was like 10 or 12, I ended up getting the TV in my bedroom. So like it was whatever our parents wanted to watch is what we watched. We
Yeah.
would have I think we tried to do like a movie night. Like we went to Blockbuster on rented movies, and like we would try to do like maybe a once a week family movie night. But my sister's 13 years older than me. She was like, I'm not sitting here watching
That's a much bigger difference.
the Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen movie. You know, like
Yeah, like, I would watch movies sometimes with my sister. I hardly ever remember my parents sitting, like, we would rent movies and then I would just watch it by myself.
oh
Like,
really? Yeah, no.
yeah,
My parents would watch movies with us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they did sometimes, but largely I remember just watching them by myself.
Well,
I
like-
guess I was the babysitter, the TV babysitter, you know.
They would like put stuff like we would have a movie on, and then my mom would be back and forth in the kitchen, like cooking or whatever. But like, yeah, no, we would. It was basically the living room was like the gathering place for us. So like whatever was on, we would all kind of watch together. Because I would even like we would watch what was the Friday night TV block, TGIF.
Yeah.
We would all sit down and watch Urkel together and stuff like that. Like that was very big for us.
Yeah, maybe live TV sometimes that would happen. Yeah, I guess I just my parents were divorced. I guess it was
Right.
like I feel like we learned to all kind of do our own. My sister was older, so she would like be in her room. I would be maybe if I was watching something on TV, I don't know where everybody was. Yeah, just a
Well, but
different
that's
thing.
interesting too because like, do you remember like I don't know when your parents got divorced versus how old you are? Would you
I was
watch?
young.
Would you did you have memories of like the movie watching before the divorce?
We would go to they would take me to the movies, but
Okay.
not at home. We didn't really have a real family movie night thing.
Okay.
I feel like I probably have watched more movies with my mom as an adult than when I was a kid.
Well, that's the thing too because once Netflix came into play,
Yeah.
we had one Netflix account. So like every time the DVD came in the mail,
Oh.
kids ask your parents, we would sit down and like we would have a movie night and we would all agree on the same movie. But I was like, I guess I was in like high school and like early on in college too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah.
all, like the way he treated the child, like, okay, you need to sit here and watch the entire movie. Why
Well,
not
that's what we're debating right now. So I feel it sounds like maybe you're ready to give a verdict. Are you?
Well, I just like it's just weird that like okay, fine, you have to watch the entire movie. Why not just have her the freedom of walking back and forth? Was it like annoying to him that she was like
right.
interrupting it?
Right. Why
Or,
not
like-
simply say? Why force her to sit there if she's uncomfortable?
Right. If you don't want to watch the movie, then don't watch the movie. If you want to get up and come in and see a few scenes and then leave, like
I think that's the detail that makes me have to assume that this was meant as a punishment.
yeah,
A light punishment. Like, I think it was supposed to teach her a lesson.
like a punishment, but also like the dad just seems like he could be annoyed. Fine, I don't want you getting up every time the movie, like that kind of father. But
I feel like you should give your verdict first. I feel like you're you're leaning us away that I can see.
I don't know if I am or not though, because we'll go. Let's do.
You're swaying me a little.
Or am I?
A little.
Okay, let's get into it then. I don't know what I would say, but I side with the daughter. Like,
To be clear, I think the thing that we are judging ultimately is the act of making her watch the movie. So
okay,
I think put out of your mind all the business of whether or not she should have had to stay in her room or whatever. It's you can or take it into account. I don't care what you do.
So then the dad's guilty of forcing her to watch this movie. Like, he's guilty of like forcing a child to basically do something that might harm them. Mm-hmm. And like, just let your there's a lot of things I think that the parents are guilty of in this case. Guilty of using the living room, but yeah, I would say
guilty of having children.
Guilty of having children. But
guilty of breeding.
Guilty.
Okay, that's one guilty. Now, what I think an important thing to bring up is that, according to the case file, it doesn't sound like she ever tried to leave. You know what I mean?
Right.
He does tell her you must watch the whole thing, but I wonder if she really seemed scared and wanted to leave if he would have still enforced that.
Right, like did he like tie her to the couch? Like,
I don't think he did. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and say and think if she really, really seemed scared, I think he maybe would have said, okay, you should leave.
Interesting. Okay.
I feel like during the movie he was, he said he was keeping an eye on her and she covered her eyes a few times, but she seemed okay. And maybe he should have checked in and been like, is this still okay for you or something like that?
Right. Like, was he like still actively parenting, or did he just like, fine, just shut up and watch the movie while I enjoy it?
Yeah. So I'm a little bit, I think I'm certainly more conflicted on this than you are. I sort of feel like his heart was in the right place, and I do like his ironic lesson teaching punishment. But I think, as we said, there are better ways to handle this.
Right.
Maybe this wasn't the worst way to handle it. And I also I really don't think he traumatized this kid. I think that maybe, like you said, having a kid watch a horror movie at a somewhat young age. And again, of all the horror movies, this isn't the worst,
right.
From my understanding. It's not The Exorcist. It's not Evil Dead.
Right.
Like, it's not Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right. Name 3 more.
The Evil Dead 2, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
There you
go. Now, so there are definitely worse things. Now, the more I talk, I'm convincing myself from both sides is the thing. Because I was kind of leaning towards guilty, but I ultimately, even though I think he could have done better here, I ultimately, sorry for saying ultimately so much. Ultimately, I think that there isn't much lasting damage here. I don't think.
Right. And sorry to step on your verdict time, but it's like a rite of passage as a child. Like, your parents are there to scare the crap out of you.
Yeah. So I'm glad your guilty verdict is entered, but I think I'm going to come around with a not guilty.
Interesting.
On this. I don't. I could, like I said, I think there's more nuance here. It's not totally a black and white thing, but I think if I have to come down on one side or the other, I'm absolving him of guilt.
Okay.
So I think that you're gonna have to sentence the father and come up with a punishment for his misdeeds,
which I have a good one.
Which I do think is merited. So what does he have to endure?
She gets to control the TV, and he has to stay in his bedroom when she watches a movie.
Yeah, I thought he has to watch Blippi or some shit.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, he has to watch X amount of hours, but I don't know what kids' shows are called now.
Well, she's 9, so that's not even... Those shows aren't even as bad as, the real bad kids' shows for 5-year-olds.
Oh, yeah, the Extreme Dora the Explorer kind of thing, so where they keep repeating stuff.
Yeah, it's way worse now. Yeah. The YouTube stuff for kids is unbearable.
There is one that it's like a name and people know it. It's like starts with a C. It's like Cuckoo or it's like something.
Oh, Coco Melon.
Coco Melon. I was like Cujo? No, wait, that's a horror movie.
They're all really, really bad. There's a lot of Disney. The Disney Plus shows are a little better, but they're still kind of mind-numbing.
What is your punishment for
I don't know.
daughter?
Am I punishing the daughter? Am I punishing the wife maybe for getting I think I might be punishing the wife.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, did we discuss about that the wife got furious at him
for
doing this? Like, okay, like you haven't done something like this is out of all the things you can do as a father, this isn't that bad.
Yeah. I feel like in this court case, she's the prosecution, I think. So, the child is not suing the father here. Right. So I do think that I'm giving her a sentence, and maybe she just has to. I'm gonna say get a procedure done so that she can't have kids anymore.
There you go. All three's enough.
And I think both parents should. We need a vasectomy. I just think they shouldn't be allowed to have any more kids.
Right.
3 is too many, or maybe they should have to have more.
Wasn't there? Isn't there a show like Threes and like? I thought
8 is enough.
8 is enough. That's it.
Cheaper by the dozen.
It's too many. People had too many kids back in the day.
I honestly don't really feel like I don't really want to punish either the father or the daughter. I don't think either of them.
Now you're making me look like a dick.
That's fine. That's sort of my job here.
But like, I was going to go back to the mom's case, and like, so I'm assuming the mom and the dad had like a fight over this. Which makes it seem worse for the kid. So the kid, I'm sure, heard the fight because they probably had the fight during family time, and like, now the kid's like, oh, I could never watch these movies again.
Right. Yeah. I don't fully blame the mom either. Honestly, like. Maybe she overreacted a little, but I get being maybe upset about this decision.
Would you be though? Like if you came home and you found out that your partner.
Well, no, I would have been the dumbass who did this.
Right.
But it's it's your kid. You're like, if your kid is scared, you might get a little mad. You shouldn't we don't know the extent of but I understand a little bit of reaction.
Well, they got divorced and he went to jail.
She stabbed him.
Right.
That was the whole thing. Her name was Lorena Bobbitt.
Oh, that's how that started?
That's the twist.
Wow.
Yep. So I don't really want to punish anybody, but I do think this is a mistrial. Ultimately, we have conflicting verdicts, which means we're going to need the listeners and viewers to chime in and give us their verdicts on this one. Who do you side with in this case? Let us know by emailing us. You can do so at geeksontrial@gmail.com. And while you're there, that's also where you can submit your own geeky case if you want us to hand down a verdict on something that's happened to you in your life. We'll do it. You can email us or fill out our convenient form, which has a link in our description.
So convenient. And while you're just being so convenient, why don't you reach into your wallets and give us some money and get some early access to our videos. You can do that over at patreon.com/geeksontrial. A few bucks a month, early access, help a show out.
Help a show out.
And if you don't have the money, we get it. Give it to us anyway. But you can help us out for free by liking us over on YouTube and by giving us a 5-star rating on your podcatcher catcher of choice.
Yeah, do it. It'll make us happy. Leave a little. It takes just a short time. It'll help us out.
Has to be 5 stars though.
Yeah, it has to be 5 stars. If you'd like to follow us elsewhere online, you can follow me at Quentz on Twitter. And this week I'm going to plug the Geeks on Trial TikTok account. If you like watching or listening to Geeks on Trial in the full-length form, imagine reliving some of those highlights in a TikTok.
It's true. You could follow me. I'm Ivan Hahn. I'm the snack guy. And I just did a Peeps Cola video. It's a Peeps Pepsi recipe. I cracked the Peeps Pepsi recipe over there. It's youtube.com/the snack guy.
Yeah, it's I watched that. I don't know that I want to drink that, but
I wouldn't.
Well, thanks everybody for listening. This has been Geeks on Trial. My name is Judge Jonathan Estes.
And I'm Judge Ivan Hahn, and we'll catch you next time.